Welcome back to Syncrets To Success, the podcast learning all about music, sync licensing, sync placements, and a little bit about trailers. This is day two. As I mentioned on day one, I'm trying to do this for 30 days. Like I said, I might just batch record the videos, but I want to have 30 days of content that I can share about sync licensing. And today on day two, we're going to dive into the world of music rights and their significance in the sync licensing space. So when it comes to sync licensing, there are three primary types of rights that come into play. You have your master rights, you have your publishing rights, and you have your synchronization rights. And we're going to dive a little bit into each of those. So the master rights refer to the ownership of the original recording of a song. The master of a song is the recording of the songs. As composers, these rights typically belong to us, allowing us to control how our music is used and licensed. When our music is chosen for sync placement, the master rights grant us the authority to approve or decline its use in that specific project. If it's a major artist, sometimes the recording rights are owned by the record label or maybe even the studio that recorded it. So you have to negotiate those rights if you're trying to do something with that master recording of that song. Now, the publishing rights are slightly different. These rights pertain to the ownership of the underlying musical composition. So publishing refers to the melody, the lyrics, and the chords of the song, sometimes just referred to as the song itself, the songwriting. So the master rights are the recording, the publishing rights are the songwriting aspects, the melody, the lyrics, the chords. In many cases, the publishing rights are managed by the music publishers. You can sign over the publishing rights to an admin to help administer the publishing, or it can be managed by songwriting partners if you have co-writers and things like that. When our music is licensed for sync, these rights come into play as they determine how the composition's earnings are divided between composers and publishers. So sometimes you might want to have, it's actually good to have your own publishing company, even if it's a vanity publishing company. In the US, that would be a publishing company that you set up with a PRO such as ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC if you're in the US. And you could have a publishing company with those companies so that if the publishing company you work with helps splits their publishing, you can have your publishing registered, and let's say they do 50-50 publishing. Sometimes if you sign to a third-party publishing company, they will take 100% of the publishing, but that's the nature of the business, and you get 100% writer share. So knowing all these different aspects, the publishing is the melody, the lyrics, and the chords. The master rights refer to the original recording, but you can sign over those to other entities to administer if it makes sense. Now, here's where things get exciting. Remember, we said three. We had publishing, we had master, and we had synchronization rights. These synchronization rights, also known as sync, S-Y-N-C, rights, these are the rights that enable the pairing of your music with visual media. The movies, the televisions, the commercials, the video games, some of the things we mentioned in day one. When our compositions are synced to these commercials or these films or any visual content, synchronization rights are the ones being licensed. In many cases, there is a sync fee associated with them acquiring those rights. So this allows the music to become an integral part of the overall creative work of the project. Now, have you ever wondered about public domain music and its role in sync licensing? Well, public domain music refers to compositions that are no longer protected by copyright and are free for anyone to use. So these works can be an excellent resource for sync licensing as they come without the usual restrictions or fees that you have to pay to get approval to make your cover or version of that song. However, it is crucial to verify that the public domain status of the music you plan to use is public domain, or if you are covering or working on a remix of a public domain song or a version, you want to make sure that version is in the public domain and it's not just another recording that would come with other master rights. So it's very confusing, but you just want to make sure you do your research if you're going to do a public domain song. I see that a lot when, especially around the holiday season, when we get holiday briefs, usually in April, we get holiday Christmas briefs, and they want different versions of public domain holiday songs. And you just want to make sure that the version you do isn't infringing on the rights of another master recording of that public domain song. So you want to avoid as many potential legal issues as possible. In the world of sync licensing, managing and protecting your music rights is paramount. One of the first steps you should take is registering your compositions with the PRO, Performing Rights Organization. Not always necessary. So sometimes I would say Most of the time it's good to register, especially if you know you're going to have a big placement in a show, whether you work with a library. Sometimes it's good to make sure, if you're working with the library, to just check with the library to say, hey, should I register this song on my own, or will you register it on your whatever admin that you have on your side? But either way, make sure the song is registered with the PRO. You can check your PRO, usually a couple weeks. Sometimes it does take a couple months, but depending on what the PRO process is, just make sure that your song is registered so that when it gets placed on a big project, the PRO can track the performance of your music and ensure that you receive the performance royalties, which is what the PRO will pay when your music is used in these public performances or these sync placements. So you want to make sure that you protect your music. And when you want to protect your music, you want to consider working with a music attorney or legal expert. It's not always necessary, but if you start seeing a lot of agreements, you're not familiar with the terminology, maybe find someone who can guide you through the complexities of contracts, negotiations, agreements, so that you understand the terms and clauses in sync licensing agreements. Understanding those terms is crucial to being successful in sync, to safeguarding your rights, and ensuring you receive fair compensation for your work. Most of the agreements I've seen in the sync space are really a couple pages, maybe 5 pages at the most, maybe 10 pages. So you can read through it, in an hour, a couple hours. If you don't understand some terms, definitely consult a lawyer. I've seen people, I haven't done this, copy like a paragraph and put it into like a AI, ChatGPT, Bard, Perplexity, one of those platforms, and just say, summarize this like a 5th grader, things like that. Just be careful doing that, because a lot of these platforms, they are analyzing that data that's being put in. So if you're putting in confidential contractual agreements in AI writers and you're asking it to summarize it, just be careful. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm not saying do it. Just be careful. So as music composers, our creations are our valuable assets. What we create is valuable, and understanding music rights is essential to thriving in the sync licensing industry. So take the time, educate yourself, as I'm doing. I'm trying to show you a little bit, but educate yourself, make informed decisions about licensing your music. That is day 2 of Syncrets to Success, your guide to music sync licensing. Tomorrow on day 3, we will explore the exciting world of sync placements and the different types of opportunities available for composers like us. Until then, keep learning about sync, keep creating music, and I will see you tomorrow. All right. Peace.